following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Thursday, September 23rd, 2021, season 17, episode number 27. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We're live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Nick, as we do every day, can you give me a 27?
Ron Fellows.
Ron Fellows from the 80s, right?
Back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was before I was a Cowboy fan, but I remember the name, yeah.
Right. Ron Fellows.
Ron Fellows.
I don't even.
He was a defensive back. Is that right?
Yep. Cornerback. Wore the Eric Dickerson goggles, you know?
Yeah.
It was one of those.
Yeah.
I can't think of one like what's a recent one?
What's the
J.J. Wilcox.
Yeah, I was about to say
J.J.
the
Wilcox.
safety. I was about to say the safety. I couldn't remember his name.
The safety?
Yeah, I couldn't remember his name.
It's
I
not
should've
that far in the past.
I should have
No, it's not
busted
that.
out Eddie George. That's what I should have done, you
Did he
know.
wear 27 here?
I think he did. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Remember we
27.
sat and interviewed him that year at training camp on the court, Oxnard,
Yeah, I think
when he was
so.
that year he was here. Yeah.
Is that when we had an earthquake?
I don't know if it was the same year, yes, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we were interviewing him while the earthquake happened, but I do remember we interviewed him on the court, and it was
Yeah.
the same year from our setup.
You know, the Hall of Fame list just came out, 100 and something
Yeah.
names, and we always talk about that. Who should we mention? Because there's five or six, true Cowboys, and then there's another 4 or 5 that you're like, oh yeah, he played, like Randall Cunningham and Eddie George and Zach Thomas and guys that kind of just finished it up over here.
Yeah.
But so he was one of them. Now there's some former Cowboys not on the list, but we can talk about that later.
Who?
Romo.
Do we know? You just keep running with this. Like you came off as like that was like breaking news. We know he's not going to make it into the Hall of Fame, right?
It's not about the making it.
It's
into the
not
Hall
about
of
the
Fame.
making it into the
You're
Hall
talking
of
about just
Fame.
being on the list. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
just read
130
read the
names
list.
on the list.
I know, but you mentioned Jake Delhomme, and I thought Dave had a good point. Jake Delhomme had a
No,
better career.
No,
than
he
Tony.
didn't.
He
I looked it up.
He went to a Super Bowl though.
Yeah. Go look at the numbers.
Don't do that. Don't do the.
Go look
Super
at the
Bowl.
numbers. It's not even close.
No,
It's not even
And Jeff
close.
Garcia, I don't think had a better career either. I just think.
Did they both play in Super Bowls? Did Jeff Garcia play in a Super Bowl?
I don't think so.
Here's what I don't know. I don't know how the process goes with the Hall of Fame and all that. Like, because
I thought you made a really good point. We don't know for sure when Romo ever filed his paperwork.
right
Or if he filed his
He might,
paperwork.
yeah. Like, that would.
He might be sitting there like, hey, let's see if this Dak thing works out.
He's probably filed it by now.
it's working
but
out. Okay,
It is working out.
It
yeah.
wouldn't shock me at all if he waited like a year just
Yeah.
in that snarky Romo fashion.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
saying, like,
You never know.
but
that's how he would do it. Too. You never know.
yeah, because like several times during the season, they're like, well, after you retired, and he's like, on the air, he's like, did I, Jim? Like, are you sure? So he liked to play around. But I don't even know if that even matters. I think it's when you're done playing.
Yeah.
5 years removed from that. But
From your last game type thing or last time you
okay,
were on the team?
I'm not going to sit here and say that Tony Romo deserves to be like in the Hall of Fame. Definitely not first ballot. And maybe over time he keeps, being a great announcer. Maybe you have a shot. But I mean, just to be on the list.
To not be on that list is
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
Which is like I wonder if maybe I don't know. Maybe the paperwork thing
Yeah.
is important. I don't know, but like he should be on a list of 122 people.
I mean, I get it. I'm just not going to get too bent out of shape for somebody I don't think has a shot at making it. So if you didn't get on the list and you're not going to get in anyway, then what's the big deal?
Yeah. Well, Demarcus Ware got on the list,
And he will be in the Hall of Fame.
first ballot.
yeah,
I don't know. I think so.
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be close, I think, for first ballot, but I think he probably does.
My thing is always, was there a period of time when the guy was considered one of the best in the league, top 3, 5, whatever it is, one of the best in the league? And I think there was a period where you would say he was one of the best pass rushers in the league, and then he went to Denver, and that Super Bowl, he had a lot to do with that.
Sure.
And so I think that was kind of the icing on the cake for him. And so I look at that, and I'm like, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, just don't use the excuse that he's the Cowboys' all-time leader in sacks, because that doesn't mean anything. because it didn't mean anything for Harvey Martin for years.
Yeah.
So, but
were they even tracking him back with Harvey Martin for all of his career?
Not for all of his career. We're going to get really into the weeds on this because Pro Football Reference, a really great website out there, has a lot of stats. They've gone back. They have a huge project that they've been doing in the last 2 years to try to go back and get all of these sacks and watching all these tape to try to 1982 is when the sacks officially made a stat, but they're trying to give it to the league to go a lot earlier than that.
I remember watching interviews with guys like Deacon Jones, who for half of our audience, they're like, who is that? But watching some of those interviews, and they're like, yeah, all these sack numbers mean nothing because I had way more than that because they weren't counting them back during a lot of his career. And he was a beast as of a sack guy, but it just wasn't being counted back then.
A little bit different, too, because a lot of times they were running it like in more of a kind of a not like an option, but their quarterback was kind of getting the ball and running and then maybe throwing it, and then was that a tackle? Was that a sack? It was a little bit different back then.
All right, let's jump in. We got a few things we need to hit. We're going to be joined by Bucky Brooks here in the second segment of the show. Before we get to him, though, we do need to talk about Kean O'Neal. Man, it seems like now this is just, and I shouldn't even say now, but this season, even more so than last year, COVID seems to be a weekly thing. I have basically a list that we're talking about from the standpoint of injuries, and then I got a COVID list. And this week, here's your latest addition to that COVID list, Kean O'Neal.
And until further notified, that I just assume this is going to be a thing. I mean, this is third game. Third guy. It was Zach Martin, then it was Randy Gregory. Now it's Kean O'Neal. Fortunately, on one hand, Randy's back, so that's nice. So Zach only missed one game. Randy only missed one game. Maybe Keanu will only miss one game. That's TBD.
If that, yeah.
Well, but they're 0 for 2. I don't want to hear about a guy coming back in time until it happens. They're 0 for 2 getting a guy back.
It's a different situation, though. In the other two instances, both those guys tested positive. This is not a test positive situation.
Contact.
It's close contact, which means that according to the rules, as I understand them, when it's close contact, you have a minimum 5-day if you're unvaccinated, which would mean that as of the time that we learned about it yesterday, that's 5 days to Monday. If he gets negative tests here in succession, he could possibly play on Monday, right?
That's awesome. I'll believe it when it happens.
Okay.
I'm just over the whole, when's he testing? Have we heard what his test is? Is he coming back? And, Zach, and I know you're right. Keanu didn't test positive.
Right.
That
Which
matters.
Makes a difference. That's a big difference, yeah.
But Zach, he talked to Zach Martin. He's like, I was never playing in that game. So
right.
I'll believe it when I see it. That's just the attitude that I prefer to have.
Well, let's really talk about what it means, because there's only it seems like there's one player that we've been talking about in the last 2 weeks now, and that's Micah Parsons. So everything kind of goes back to Micah Parsons, and here we are. Kean O'Neal, Dorrance Armstrong has a high ankle sprain, probably not going to play in the game. Hasn't been ruled out yet. We haven't seen an official injury report yet. We probably will today. And so do you rush him on the outside, or now you got a guy that may not be playing next to him in the nickel? Or both, but
there we go. That's the answer.
That's what he wants.
That's what he wants. Yeah, he doesn't if he was a hockey player, I don't think he would go for line changes and stuff like that. I mean, he'd
go back. He sends him back.
He'd just be like, I'm out there.
I asked him about it on Sunday. If you go, he play. Oh, sorry. What was that?
I said, I'll play goalie, sure.
Oh yeah, he'd be one of those defensemen though, and I don't think defensemen actually they don't rotate the same, and so of course he's definitely going to be a defenseman.
Yeah,
because Stephen Jones told me a story that he actually played running back is in high school, and maybe even early in Penn State. Maybe he was going to do a little bit of both, and then somebody got hurt on defense, and then he decided to stay on defense, and that's where it.
The guy has snapped the ball. The guy's played linebacker. The guy's played defensive end. Those are things he's just done here.
Sitter.
Right? True. Yeah, what can't he do?
He's gonna get an interception or a fumble, and he's not gonna go down easy. And then it's just gonna start off. Well, if Zeke can't run the ball better than that, I mean, how about 3rd and 2? That's what's gonna happen. Cool.
He's a football player.
I love it. put it all on his plate. It's fine with me.
So what do you do with his role this week? I mean, because you're right. You have now a guy that presumably could be out of defensive end. Now, you did get one back in Randy Gregory. You now got maybe a linebacker that could be out. So what do you do with that? Like, you got two different positions where you may be in need, and those are the two positions he plays. What do you do with his role?
I would rotate him between edge rusher and spy linebacker, depending on the situation. And there's not a one way to play it. It doesn't depend on the down. It does depend on the down and the distance. Like 3rd and long, love the idea of Micah Parsons being in front of Jalen Hurts to clean it up if he gets a
mirror him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because that's what kills you is when a guy like Jalen Hurts can convert these long third downs where 3rd and 8 and Terrell Basham swipes at his ankle but he gets away and converts it. That's when I want Micah Parsons mirroring whatever he does. Different situations, bring him down and have him rush the passer. They're short on the edge again if Dorrance Armstrong can't play. I think that should absolutely be part of what he does. And you can platoon that with Leighton and Jalen to have them doing, if he's down on the edge, then they can be playing linebacker. But I want him doing it all.
Yeah, and I don't want Jalen Hurts getting a good read on anything he's doing. He's a young quarterback that is still learning, still trying to pick up things, still trying to read different defenses and schemes. And so, right now, when you've looked at the Cowboys for 2 weeks, you don't have a great feel on where Micah Parsons is going to be. The first game was different. Second game was way different. And then maybe the third game will be a combination of both. But
one thing I will say, Nick, on to that point, I'm okay in this instance if Jalen Hurts knows going into the game, and as the game transpires, he knows I got to deal with Micah Parsons one-on-one every play. Here's why. Because I think running is his security blanket. You know how some quarterbacks, the tight ends, are security blanket. There's a particular receiver they love to go to. I think for Jalen, the bread and butter of his game is if everything doesn't work out, I can run. And if I run, I think I can pick up good yards. If you create some indecision in those kind of moments because he knows I got this linebacker coming at me and he's fast, and he's not going to fall for the elusive move, whatever I might try to put on. Like, he is coming, and I don't know how I can neutralize him. That creates indecision with him, and it might force him to say in situations where he may otherwise run, well, let me see if I can get this pass out there, and then he throws an ill-advised pass, and here you go, turnover, right? So I'm all good with this game. Micah Parsons, them going into the game and saying, you're going to go get the quarterback. You stay with the quarterback. Don't let him do anything. You take that part of their game away, I think that offense falls apart.
Not to doubt Micah's ability either, but I think it's worth repeating. This is not as favorable a matchup on the edge as it was last week. Rashaan Slater, he didn't give Slater any trouble at all. Jordan Mailata, young player, but seems to be very talented, a lot of upside, very athletic guy, played rugby.
Yeah.
And then you got Lane Johnson, who's one of the 3 or 4 best right tackles in football. So I don't see him dominating as a pass rusher the way that he did.
It ain't Storm.
No, it ain't the swing tackle. So
and I've argued with some people about this that are ready to just, put him next to LT and D Ware. I mean, nobody has ever game planned for Micah Parsons to play defensive end. It hasn't happened yet. Nobody's ever done it, studied him on tape, see what he likes to do, and says, all right, cool, you want to play it that way? We're just going to get him up the field. And think about it. The Cowboys they studied Joey Bosa enough last week to actually run at him, leave him unblocked at times, knowing how he's going to get up the field and do things to kind of go against him. So it's just the Cowboys, they got him on that one. Chargers didn't know that was happening. They got him. They exploited a matchup, and it worked. But let's just see before we say, oh, this is where he needs to be. Because Zach Martin never played tackle before. But for some reason, when he got to the NFL, they were like, he's a guard. Based off everything he is, he's a guard. No one did this with Micah Parsons. No one said he's a pass rusher. He's a linebacker. That's where he's always played. That's probably where he's going to be. But we've seen some pass rushing skills that can make it, pretty dynamic there as well.
All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Bucky Brooks of NFL Network. We'll talk about the Philadelphia defense versus the Dallas offense. We'll do that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man's Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Back to the break.
Get on-demand Cowboys content on your home TV. Get the latest player interviews, video, podcasts, documentaries, and so much more. Download Cowboys on your connected TV. Cowboys Now is what it's called.
Cowboys Now. Yeah, make sure you check that out. You can check it out on Apple TV, on Roku, on Amazon Fire, and all 3 of those platforms. Right.
No, I'm just saying, are you saying that we should probably rewrite this read? I think we should.
What did it say? What's wrong with it?
We need to add the stuff that you always
Yeah, absolutely. And we
will.
Probably should.
Next time.
But I'm just letting people know, like, if you want to check it out. And by the way, it's a really great tool, particularly for Sundays, because most people are sitting at their TV, they're watching the games. If you want to be able to catch pregame and postgame that is exclusively about the Cowboys, because otherwise you're watching the ESPNs and all that. And again, those are great shows, but you gotta weed through the talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars to get to the Cowboys, right? So if you want just all Cowboys in your pregame or postgame, pull up the app on your television. You can watch the pregame there. It's a great show. Same thing pre and post game.
We have an outstanding pregame show.
Yeah, it's
really
good.
really is. I mean, we think about just the guys that the experience that goes into the room there with Nate and Isaiah and Barry Church, and then
Kyle's hosting it.
Kyle hosts it, and he puts a lot of work into it, and then a lot of guys behind the scene. Britt Johnson's in it now.
Yeah.
They throw it to the stadium a couple times.
Yep. So I think it's a really great show.
Stephen
and that,
Jones,
to me, I
I
think that's a great opportunity if you haven't tried it to try the Cowboys Now app on those platforms and be able to watch that pre and post game from your couch. All right. So we got Bucky Brooks of NFL Network joining us. And Bucky, first of all, let me apologize because I just used Jacksonville as the example there. And I know you're a Jacksonville guy, so I just didn't want to kind of throw your team out there like that. My bad.
You throw my team out there. They're having a tough time. It is what it is.
You got a little love for the city of Jacksonville. All right. So here's what I got for you. I was looking at some of the stats around this Philadelphia defense. They have only allowed 2 touchdowns in 2 games. Now, obviously, we think that Dallas's offense is much better than Atlanta or San Francisco. So my question for you is, what weaknesses can Dallas exploit that Atlanta and San Francisco could not?
Well, I think, one, you have to go into it knowing that it's going to be kind of a knockdown, drag-out affair. This is a well-coached team. Jonathan Gannon has done a really good job of taking some of the principles that he learned from Indianapolis and putting them into play in Philadelphia. And if those who know Indianapolis know that Matt Eberflus, who's with the Cowboys, is a Ron Marinelli disciple, and so they do a lot of those things. It's all about hit, run, chase, keep the ball in front, make you take a lot of plays to be able to score, and what they hope is that they can throw you off kilter and make you settle for field goals as opposed to touchdowns. And that's what they've been able to do the first couple games. And so for the Cowboys, this will be a test of patience. This will be a test of, can we be content with the 3, 4, 5 yard gain as opposed to the explosive play? And if they can be patient and avoid the penalties and the mistakes that bog down some teams, then they shouldn't have a problem scoring. But I would anticipate this being one of those one-score affairs that you're just going to have to kind of outlast the Philadelphia Eagles when it comes to your offensive approach.
That kind of sounds like what they faced against San Diego. Is that an accurate assessment?
Los Angeles.
I'm sorry, Los Angeles. Jeez.
I mean, I think it's a very safe assessment that the games could be very similar in terms of how the Chargers played, how they're not going to allow you to have the explosive plays and those things, and how Philadelphia wants to play the same way. Philadelphia has not been able to generate the turnovers that they want, but they have played very, very solid defense. And so it's going to take what I call a workman-like effort from everyone involved with the offense to get it going. And so Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy, they have to make sure that the way that they attack the Eagles is one that doesn't necessarily put the ball in harm's way, so they can make sure that they don't gift extra opportunities to the Eagles.
Bucky, on your $5 column that you wrote this week, you said one of your points was 2 backs is greater than 1. And, of course, that's a big talking point around here with Zeke and Pollard. Can you explain that a little bit more on why it works so well here with the Cowboys?
Yeah, I can't really understand why there's this national debate about Tony Pollard replacing Ezekiel Elliott and those things. I understand, people get caught up in terms of, what people get paid. But look, man, it's like dominoes. Once the domino is played, it's over. They paid Zeke the money, Zeke is there. So now you're trying to figure out what's the best way for the offense to play. And when you go and you look at the Cowboys, one, I'm excited to see them run the ball. When they run the ball over 30 times, it's normally a recipe for success. And so Ezekiel running between the tackles, the power runner softening up the defense so that Tony Pollard can get on the edges and do what he does in space. I think it's a nice combination. I like the way that they have it going back and forth. And I think it's something that the Cowboys should continue to do because also, don't forget, there's an extra game. It's a 17-game season. And to think that you're going to put it all on the shoulders of one back over an extended marathon of a season, it's really not sensible. If anything, what you would like to do is see it kind of evenly distributed. And then as you get down the stretch, when it's the dash for the playoffs, then maybe it goes in favor of Ezekiel Elliott if he's playing better than Tony Pollard or vice versa. But right now, keep it even. Utilize both of them. Let both of those guys attack the defense while they're fresh. I think it's really a sensible solution to what they want to be able to do on offense.
So, Buck, as long as I've been here, the Eagles front has kind of been a pain for the Cowboys. But the Cowboys have had a lot of success against their secondary. From the time Amari Cooper got here, Dak Prescott's averaging 308 passing yards a game against the Eagles. And there's a new element of that. Steven Nelson came over from Pittsburgh right at the start of training camp. We know all about Darius Slay, but can you give us a snapshot on Nelson and what he brings to this and whether that's a favorable matchup for anybody in the Cowboys passing game?
Well, I mean, Nelson is a really good player, but he's a good player really kind of coming off the edge and blitzing and doing some creative things. I wouldn't say that he's necessarily a high-end cover guy. And so what happens and the problem that the Cowboys present, they have receivers that are really good, and typically you don't have enough to match up with what they can put out there. Even though Michael Gallup isn't available, still with CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper and the thought of defending the running game, and particularly what you have to deal with the tight ends, it's a lot to think about. So you have to prioritize what's most important. I would say the most important thing for Dallas that you have to stop is you got to stop the running game because you let them have a multi-dimensional attack, you have no chance. So you got to make sure you bottle up Ezekiel Elliott and take care of Tony Pollard so they don't hurt you. And so now what it does is it does create some one-on-one opportunities where Steven Nelson has to hold up in space against CD or Amari Cooper. If they see that, and if they can identify that, particularly in a single-high safety coverage, I think they're going to attack him. They're going to attack him relentlessly.
Philadelphia's defensive end, Brandon Graham, has been placed on IR. He will not play, obviously, this week. Who will presumably fill in for him, and how much of a loss is that for Philadelphia's defense?
I mean, it's a loss because he's one of the leaders of the defense. He's a high motor guy. He's a guy that isn't necessarily a double-digit sack producer, but he's a persistent pass rusher. So you have Ryan Kerrigan, who's in the rotation. You have Derek Barnett, who's in the mix. I would expect those guys to pick up the slack. Now, I'll be honest with Ryan Kerrigan. Ryan Kerrigan is not what he was during his prime with the Washington football team, but still he can still work over tackles that kind of fall asleep at the wheel and they're not sound with their technique. So you have to be aware of him. You have to be aware of Barnett being able to come off the edge. But this is a team that kind of does it by committee. And so the main thing is you got to make sure that you don't get beat inside. You got to make sure you take care of the inside part of their defense line.
You know, you just got done saying that Pollard and Zeke, that doesn't really matter who's doing, the most or, just as long as you use them both. You feel the same about tight end for the Cowboys? I mean, Schultz, Jarwin, do you feel like, they're getting it done by committee there? It doesn't really matter who's doing more there?
Yeah, I kind of think it's the same because I don't think there's a huge difference between the way both of those guys are playing right now. I know Schultz had a fantastic year a season ago, but I think right now they're still just kind of getting the scraps in the passing game because the ball is going outside to the wide receivers. Ideally, though, you would like to see someone emerge as a middle-of-the-field threat because that will also loosen the blanket on the guys outside, Lamb and Cooper respectively. But right now, both of these guys are kind of even-steven when it comes to what they're producing on the field.
You mentioned Kerrigan not being what he used to be. What does Fletcher Cox look like these days? Because the reputation, it speaks for itself. And he had a good year last year, but he is, he's 30 now. Just curious if he still looks like himself 2 games into the season.
I mean, he's fine, but I think at this stage, man, he's a flash player. So he can give you a couple splash plays, but he's not going to be the consistent, dominant force that he was early in his career. And so what you have to do is you have to make sure you gear up for those big moments, right? Third down, 2-minute situations, red zone situations where he can make a play. He tends to kind of pop up and make plays in those moments more so than the complete takeover that he used to put on display when he was younger.
I'll take that. That's a little easier to defend. Yeah.
It's a win.
All right. So Bucky, tell us, what do you think is going to happen Monday night?
Look, I think if the Cowboys are focused and locked in, I think this is a game that plays well for them. If they just line up and play and take what the defense has given them on offense like they did the last 2 weeks, whether that's a pass-heavy menu or a run or a balance menu, they have to do that. I think they just have to be patient. Defensively, I think it's still finding a way to be creative and still unleash Micah Parsons in their front. Depending on who's back and who's in the lineup, you have some things, but I think we're seeing that Micah Parsons is a huge difference maker. And even though there's been a groundswell of national attention around him, I still think Dan Quinn has to unleash him and let him do what he does. I think he's at his best going forward than backwards. So keep him blitzing, keep him rushing, find a way to allow him to make some splash plays in the game.
All right, Buck, we appreciate you joining us. We're going to take our final break. When we come back, I have some questions for these guys. We're going to talk a little bit more about this Dallas offense, particularly the offensive line. Tyler Biatish, some questions there going into the season. We'll find out how these guys think he's been playing so far through 2 games. We'll do that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Before you can park yourself in front of the game, park yourself in a John Deere and power through your chores. Our Land Run package is a 1025R, 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, and a box blade for $229 a month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay, no surprises. So don't miss another kickoff.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar and a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. and a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man's Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
Back to the break.
Head to AT&T Stadium on Sunday, September 26th to experience the first rally day of the season, presented by SeatGeek. A lot of cool things there, autographs of Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, Cowboys alumni, ticket giveaways, a lot of cool stuff there at the Miller Lighthouse. Visit AT&TStadium.com for tickets and more information.
Welcome back. It is the final segment of the break live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We just finished our segment with Bucky Brooks talking about the Philadelphia-Dallas matchup. Remember, tomorrow we'll give you guys our thoughts on what we think is going to happen in that game Monday night. We'll not have a show on Monday because we won't because it's a game day, but we'll do a wrap up tomorrow and then come back on Tuesday to let you know what we think happened in the Monday night game. For the rest of our time today, though, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Dallas offense, and I want to zero in here on the offensive line for a bit. We've talked about this unit, I think, quite a bit, and I think as a unit, we all agree they've looked pretty good through 2 games. I think the quarterback helps when you have a quarterback that can get rid of the ball quickly, and I saw moments in this last game where that was really, really the case. I think that helps the entire unit. But we haven't really assessed, I don't think, some of the individual players. And I wanted to first talk about Tyler Biatish because he was a guy that going back even to training camp, there was a lot of talk about him, a lot of talk about Conor Williams, who was the better fit. How would each of them play in given situations? Talk to me about what you've seen from Tyler Biatish and from Conor Williams through these first 2 games.
Tyler Biatish is off of his feet a lot, I feel like.
It's not a good thing for an offensive line.
No, that's a very bad
that's
thing.
Not a good thing.
And Vita Vea is about as hard of a draw as you could ask for, and Sue for that matter. Yeah. There was a play in that Buccaneers game where Vea picked Tyler up and carried him to Dak. I mean, that's basically what happened. And I thought that there were some. I thought that happened a little bit in this last game as well. Not as dramatically as that, but he's a young player who hasn't played a lot of football. This goes back to the spring when Nick and I were kind of just banging the drum, like, why is Tyler the only center on this team? And I'm not accusing the Cowboys of this, but there's been this narrative of like, he went to Wisconsin, he won the Remington Trophy, so it's Frederick 2.0. He's a beast, and he was a 4th-round pick. I mean, it's just, and there were all of the concerns that go along with the tape of a 4th-round pick were there. Some of it was his injury, but some of it was like, yeah, I mean, if you are, Travis Frederick was a 1st-round pick. Not everybody agreed with that, but he had the talent to make it happen.
I've been writing 5th-round pick for like 2 years now. Have I been wrong? I really thought
I think he was a 4th. They traded up with the Eagles.
He was like the 2nd, 4th-round pick.
Yeah, he was. I think he was.
Your 2nd, 4th-round pick's never going to be good.
I'm not. Well, wow. I'm not ready to say that he's not good.
Dak was the 2nd, 4th round.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, he was pick 146, 4th round.
I shouldn't argue with you about what rounds people were in, but I always thought he was a 5th round.
He's a 4th, and I was the 5th. But that's the funny thing. Like, he had played started 4 NFL games coming into this season, so this shouldn't be terribly surprising. I think Conor Williams has been pretty damn good. I think PFF has credited him with 1 pressure allowed through 2 games. So that's exciting to see for a guy
at guard, where everybody was like, "Is he gonna be? Should he be your center?" Like, yeah.
So that's vindicating for me because I think he's certainly not Zach Martin, but I think that is the comparison for a lot of people. So everybody's dogged on him for years for not being an All-Pro.
I also think, too, about Conor Williams is that when you have a left tackle like Tyron Smith who's playing pretty good. I mean, like he's playing Tyron Smith football. Now, he gave up a sack.
That sack was his,
and that was his, and that was one we haven't seen a lot of, but we've also seen him kind of shut it down over there as well. And I think when that's happening, it certainly helps your left guard. And so, Conor Williams coming back from injury last year and having to play with a lot of different guys moving around, I bet you it's a lot easier for him and for anybody when you've got all pros sitting there.
I want to throw this out there too. Stephen Jones in his post game, he talks to 105.3 every Monday after the game, and he said something, or maybe it was before the game, but he said something along the lines of like the two Connors are both getting practice reps at center, like we're doing, and that's new. McGovern played center in college. He's very rarely ever done it here. So it does make me wonder. I think it's fair to say center is the weak link of this offensive line right now. I'm not throwing dirt on Tyler Biatish. This was his 6th NFL start, but so somebody has to be, right? And I would even say Terrence Steele played better against the Chargers than Tyler Biatish did. So it's definitely something to watch. I wonder if Conor Williams had a better preseason, if maybe that would be something that they would consider. Maybe if they'd started doing it before they got to Oxnard, who knows? It's almost like you should have 2 centers heading into training camp. So I don't know. That's something to watch. I'm not pressing panic buttons about Tyler Biatish, but he looks like a second-year player who's still very, very raw.
After going back and watching the film, did you think Terrence Steele played as well as we thought he did on Monday?
Yeah, I actually did. I thought he. There were some times where he got some help. I think they're always going to get some help.
Yeah.
Even Lyle will get some, but not that much. But I thought he played really well. And he got stronger in this year, which most second-year players get stronger. And I thought it showed at times. And they're not afraid to run behind him. And even down in the goal line or short yardage situations. And having Zach there helps, just like I said about Conor and Tyron Smith. And so I thought he did a really nice job in the game. And I think he's just got some athletic ability to him that you just don't see a lot from the right tackle position. So. Just keep going. It's gonna get tough this week. As Dave said when he was talking to Bucky, we talked about this before. Just put the Eagle helmet on and put him out at defensive end. And for some reason,
I seriously don't care who it is.
They are always good.
Yeah.
I mean, we named 5 or 6, 7 players that they always seem to have,
and they always seem to have 6. We're over here always just like, well, do they have enough to play this game? Dorrance Armstrong can't play. Demarcus Lawrence is out. Eagles are just like, Brandon Graham went down. Well, we have Ryan Kerrigan for that.
Yeah,
which he's not Ryan Kerrigan of 6-7 years ago. He's still a good player.
I would assume. Yeah,
I told Nick yesterday, I would have signed him to that deal that the Eagles gave him.
Yeah.
And part of me, when he became a free agent, I was like, well, he's Mr. Washington. He's not the type of guy. Like Demarcus Ware didn't want to go in the division. Sign with the Eagles.
Well, that didn't surprise me just because I kind of always thought, not that I've talked to him or anything, but I always thought that the way that they went out and just started drafting guys to replace him, at some point he probably was looking like, I'm a good player. Like, why are you trying to replace me? Like, there are a lot of other places on this team you could be trying to replace.
The point I'm trying to make is if he was willing to sign in the division, why ain't he here?
Yeah.
Right. The Eagles are the kings of doing deals that I want to do.
Yeah.
Steven Nelson, pretty decently solid, experienced cornerback. Not like the Cowboys need one of those. He signed on July 25th for $3.5 million.
Yeah.
The Eagles just stay doing deals that I want the Cowboys to do. It's the only thing they do. And I didn't grow up a Cowboy fan, so I don't have this long-seated animosity. But every year I'm just like, there goes Howie doing what I want the Cowboys to do, and it pisses me off after a while.
I did notice one thing. We talked about Terrence Steele, and I remembered last week, I think it was Steven last week that was saying, there is some benefit to having a Zach Martin there at guard when you've got that inexperienced guy at tackle and that inexperienced guy at center. And I noticed on one play specifically, basically Bosa got by Terrence Steele, and you saw Zach just kind of dip right over. And Zach already had one guy on his left shoulder, and now he's got Bosa coming on the right. And luckily, it just slowed things down a bit so that Dak could get the ball off. But that's the benefit. And I think Terrence still played a really, really fabulous game. But I do think it has some value having a guy like Zach Martin that can help him out in those kind of moments just to give your quarterback an extra beat.
I don't remember if Bucky said his name during the breakdown, but Zach might have. I mean, obviously Fletcher Cox, but don't forget about Javon Hargrave either. He's very, very good. He seems like he's off to a good start based on what I've seen of the Eagles.
I think he either leads or is second in quarterback pressures for them. I think second.
He's a hell of a player in his own right. So I'm just saying Zach Martin's great, but he's got a lot of. I think the Eagles have stronger players on the interior. That's what I'm trying to say.
All right, that's a wrap for us. We got to get to Coach McCarthy's press conference. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll wrap up everything, get you guys ready for the Cowboys versus the Eagles on Monday Night Football. Till then, for Nick Eatman and Dave Hellman, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!